Hello, everyone, and welcome to Conversations in Horror, the podcast. I'm your host, Kevin O'Powers, and I'm also the owner, operator of Something Wicked Entertainment Events, and I want to welcome you on this glorious Friday the 13th in February 2026. And as such, this special holiday is very magical to us here at the show, and so therefore, we are releasing yet another great Friday the 13th episode for your listening pleasure. Now, as we've been going along over the last few years, we are now hitting our stride, and we have done Friday 13th, the final chapter, and now for this episode, we are hitting final Friday 13th, A New Beginning from 1985. And to help me talk about this film and gotta get into the nuts and bolts and the whole nitty gritty of this film, I have brought along with me Dave Watkins, who was also on the other podcast for the final chapter. Thank you, Dave, for joining us on the program.
Yeah, happy Friday the 13th again.
Yeah. And so we love to do these films. Some of the films, if you've been listening to our show, we kind of do around special holidays. And so that's how we're getting around to doing the Friday 13th films. Every Friday 13th is as long as we have films to comment on, we'll continue to do it that way. But if you would like to listen to some of the podcast episodes for the previous films, please make sure to check our catalog. We have done them on the very first 3 films in this franchise, so you have those available to listen to, as well as these 3 new ones for this month. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into this conversation, because I really want to know your opinions regarding this film, which is the 5th film in the franchise, A New Beginning, and it certainly is that.
Yeah, so this one's always been kind of odd for me. Now, it is technically, there's 3 films to have the Tommy Jarvis character in it, so it's kind of in some way, like a little bit of a trilogy of Friday the 13th films. The first one's the 4th one. But as far as like my impression of this one, and I do have a different impression now, but being a fan of Jason Voorhees and the fact that he's only in this one in dream sequences was always a little disappointing for me when I was younger. And there is a character in here who's pretending to be Jason Voorhees, but it turns out to be not. But there's a lot of good things to like about in this one, especially there's a lot of kills in it, and there's some interesting characters, and the location's kind of cool.
Yeah, so I was kind of like you growing up. I used to skip this one a lot as a kid because it didn't have Jason Voorhees in it, and of course it was shoehorned in between the far superior the final chapter and Jason Lives. I was about to say Jason Goes to Hell. Jason Lives. Part 6, which I think are 2 of the best entries in the franchise, and this one is not so much because the Tommy Jarvis character in this version, who is played by a different actor in every one of the movies, is not that interesting of a character and not played by a really good actor in this film. And so I
thought he did okay though. I just think that for me, my Tommy Jarvis are the other 2, because I saw them first that way.
I will agree with you on that. Corey Feldman did a number on me when I saw the 4th one. When I was a kid. Oh, but by the way, if you listen to our previous episode on the final chapter, just be aware that when I was a kid, I kind of saw these first 5 films relatively around the same exact time. That's how I kind of got inundated with the Jason Voorhees franchise, the Friday 13th films. So I did not watch these like as they were coming out, these first 5. I kind of saw them all in a bundle within a very, very short amount of time. I'm sure my mother went to the video store and just picked out 1 or 2 of them at a time, and until we got done with them, and then that's how we watched.
So that being the case, when you saw this one the first time, like how did it affect you? Because you didn't know that it wasn't Jason until I guess the twist happened. So do you remember that? Like when
I do, because my problem was even when okay, so I'm really at 85. I am roughly, what's that? I'm like 10 years old when I'm seeing this, 10, 11 years old, somewhere around there. I watched this movie and I don't get a lot of what's happening in the movie. For me, it's just Jason killing people like he did in the first 4 movies. And I really didn't take into consideration that Jason was, got his head chopped off pretty much at the ending of the last movie, and he's only in dream sequences in this film. I kind of consider it Jason the whole way, even when they did the reveal, because in reality, when I was a kid, I couldn't see the guy in the mask very well when it's revealed to be a guy, because he still has the outer shell of the mask around him.
Right. It is kind of odd. It really is hard to tell.
Well, two things. One is you're wondering why he's wearing that huge elaborate thing that goes around his entire head instead of just wearing the hockey mask. I doubt he would have known what Jason Voorhees looked like any freaking way.
Yeah.
And the two is, when you're a little kid watching these movies, I'm just watching them for the kills. I'm not paying attention to that much type of story elements to it. My impressions was I knew that this was a Tommy Jarvis character because Corey Feldman's in the beginning of this movie. And it's kind of like, the older teenage Tommy Jarvis wakes up from the nightmare, and all that. I got all that. But the picking up that the whole guy, the paramedic, was killing people because his illegitimate son, was killed by the crazy dude.
You are spoiling this movie for everyone, man.
Everyone's seen this movie. And we're talking about a movie that everyone has seen.
I'm kidding, man. It's such a stupid twist anyway.
It is, but I can understand why they wanted to bring in the new story element, because the fact that at the very end we see Tommy dressed up like with the hockey mask, I was like, oh, that's where this movie's getting off to. So I was fine with that. I just kind of assumed that it was Jason, and Jason was finally unmasked with a guy underneath as a kid. By the time part 6 came around, and I don't have the year for when part 6 came around.
It was crazy. It happened. It was a year later. So it was 1986.
So part 6, I wanted to see at the theater. I recall that very well because I remember the music video from Alice Cooper that I'd seen 200 times or more. And I was dying to see that part 6. After part 6 came out and I saw it, that's when I was like, whoa. What happened to part 5? I had to go back and rewatch them. I had to go back and rewatch them and figure what the hell I had missed. And that's when it all clicked to me at that point. But when I first saw this movie, for me, it was just watching Jason Voorhees kill people, and he kills a lot of people in this movie. And I had forgotten how many people he killed in this movie until I rewatched it. I was like, dude, there's like someone dying every 5 freaking minutes in this movie.
Yeah, there's 20 kills in the movie.
Like, there's a lot of
well, Jason, the fake imposter Jason, kills 17 people, and then 2 people are killed in a dream sequence, and then of course Roy's killed as well. So
that's a lot of people in this movie. Like, there's not that many people that get killed in part 2 or 3. I think
right.
There's a lot of, and the thing is, when you're a kid, the logic of the story didn't bother me, but when I was rewatching it for the podcast, I was like, damn, there is a lot of filler in this movie with random people getting killed left and right just to be getting killed.
I do know why that is. I did watch some of the commentary and things, and you've kind of, in a way, hit on it. You suspect it already. So the director was instructed to kill somebody or have a jump scare every 7 minutes.
Oh, wow.
So in order to accomplish that, which he does accomplish it, he has to have random characters pop in every so many, because you can't start killing the main group of teenagers until about 30 or 45 minutes into it, because if they start disappearing, then the whole movie is about people looking for them. So they can't just start killing them right away. So he has to have some of them. There's some randomness. There's some very randomness in it, but that's like kind of that. And his second instruction was to turn Tommy Jarvis into Jason during the course of the film, which he does, and they luckily retconned it on the next movie. But I remember that. Tommy Jarvis, since I saw the 6th one already, I think, and I knew him as Corey Feldman from the 4th one, which I really liked. I really rejected that idea, I think a lot of people rejected that idea, and that's why they changed it on the next one because it was like I was kind of mad the first time I saw the last shot of this film. But this is something. Some reason they've always tried to do this in these franchises. Like they did it in Halloween with Jamie
Yeah.
Lloyd. They did it in Nightmare on Elm Street in the second movie to have a teenager turning into Freddy Krueger, trying to almost replace Freddy Krueger, but then they backed off of that. And they even tried it in Star Wars. They wanted like their original idea was to turn Luke Skywalker to the dark side, but then they luckily pulled back away from that too.
I don't know why that is. I think that was the trend in these late 80s
Yeah.
films.
Yeah.
Or sequels. I mean, rephrase that. Sequels. I guess they try to spice up the franchises. I don't know. In hindsight now, it seems like that they were all the franchises were trying to do that at some point.
Yeah, and then it always failed though.
It always failed.
Yeah, it was always like the audiences rejected it. They did not want that because
Yeah.
they want Jason, they want Freddy Krueger, they want Michael Myers. They don't want like a little girl killer, which
Yeah.
kind of would have it could have been cool, but they have to keep Michael Myers. You can't like you can maybe have both, but maybe I don't know. I don't know, but it's like yeah, I think a lot of times maybe the producers were trying to, especially with Freddy Krueger, they didn't want to be like they didn't wanted to have an actor that they had to have in every one of them whose salary would probably increase with each one. I'm sure they were trying to avoid that happening. And with these are a little different though because Michael Myers and Jason wear masks and they're almost always played by different people, even though the they tried to get the previous actors to come back, and then a lot of times they would reject it until later on when it became more popular.
Yeah.
They also tried to get Corey Feldman to come back for this movie. He is in it briefly. He has a cameo, but they originally it was written with Corey Feldman in the movie as Tommy for the whole movie.
Oh.
Yeah, and that's why like the Reggie characters in there too is the same age as Tommy would have been. But what happened was Corey Feldman was filming The Goonies, and they couldn't use him. And these movies
Oh.
were shot. Yeah, as you can see, what happened with the time frame of these, and why they have to shoot these in the middle of the winter, is because they shoot them like one a year. So it's like they put one out, they're writing it, and then they have to shoot it in the winter, and so they have like one opportunity to shoot it, and if the actor who they want to be there is not available, or they had to do something different.
Interesting. You know what? I did not put that in perspective that way. You were right. They were shooting these so freaking fast that they probably just got Corey Feldman for the 1-2 days he could come to shoot that dream sequence to bridge the two movies, and that was about it.
Yeah, it's a little different than that actually. Like, here's how it went down. They shot the sequence without him. They had to stand in most of the sequence. They only shot close-ups of him in one day, and they had to go to Corey Feldman's house and shoot it in his backyard.
You serious?
Yeah, yeah. It says it on the director's commentary of the movie.
Oh
So
wow.
the director says it himself. Yeah, he says it actually had like an older lady playing Tommy in the raincoat because he remembered like he's in the dream sequence. It's like in a graveyard, and they had someone else like an older lady about his height, like a short lady playing him, and because you're shooting him from the back and it's just a raincoat, so you can't see his face.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah, but yeah, you didn't know. I mean, I think it looked pretty good. Or they said they brought a rain machine over there, and they just lit it and they shot a few close-ups of him. It probably took a few hours. They cut him loose. It's
But it's good that they did because that for me as a kid is what
yeah.
bridged the fourth and fifth movies together. Uh, you know what? We're talking about the fifth movie, and the thing I do like about it is the fact that it's a film in which it kind of brings back some of the aesthetics for the very, very first film, in that we don't see Jason, so we don't know who the killer really is. We just assume it's Jason because it's a Friday the 13th film. The first film hid Pamela Voorhees until the very end of the movie, and for the
Yeah.
most part, this film does the exact same thing with Jason. It really hides Jason until the end of the film.
They did that in the fourth one too for no reason really, other than just not to show him but for because there's no reason to reveal him because you know that he's there, even though it maybe just helped with the suspense a little bit, not seeing him every time.
Oh, that's right, because you did make comment on that when we talked about the fourth one.
Yeah.
You know what? When I was watching the fourth one, I never noticed that they hid Jason for most of that film, and I've seen that movie a lot of
Yeah.
times, and I just didn't notice it because my brain automatically assumed it was Jason, so I didn't think about it.
Right, right. And that's what people were thinking maybe with this one. They did kill Jason in the fifth one. They because they have to bring him back in the sixth one. They actually have to bring him back as a zombie. But this they had intended to kill him with the fourth one. The fourth one did so good that they're like, okay, we got to make another one. And that's what they're then they have this idea to do this imposter Jason. But the imposter Jason is not enough. The idea was to turn Tommy into it, like we said. And um, so I mean, it's kind of I mean that was their idea because they had committed to killing Jason, and then they didn't want to walk it back and make people feel like they were cheated, but they felt even more cheated by having a fake Jason in the movie.
Yeah. Well, and the thing about that is I actually didn't mind after. Okay, so this film has grown on me. Unlike what it was when I was a kid and I realized it wasn't the real Jason. I like you, I avoided watching this one when I was watching like my Friday 13th watch days, and I'd go through all the films. I would skip this one or I would put this one in and I wouldn't pay any attention to it because I knew it wasn't Jason.
Yeah,
Uh, Waiting to get to part 6, which is the one I think is awesome. Uh,
yeah.
but this one over the years has grown on me a lot because of the fact that the mystery aspect of the film. Because I noticed recently, I think starting with the work print version I saw about 5 or 6 years ago, I saw the work print version of this on the bootleg. So yes, you can admit that there are bootlegs out there. I saw it. It wasn't a great copy as you would expect, but it was interesting to watch the different cuts. But with that one, when I'm watching it and it shows the mystery, it almost plays like a mystery on rewatch because you now know that it isn't Jason, and so you're trying to figure out all the details of the mystery that encompasses this. Now, it does a really good job when you see Roy throughout the film, especially when it's revealed that it's his son that is killed with the big axe, and he's looking at the body and stuff like that. You kind of go through and you wonder, well, why is this paramedic carrying or having this crazy reaction to the body? Or maybe he's just, squeamish or
Yeah.
something, and he's having this reaction, or there's something deeper going on there. It's good that they
Yeah.
played up that Roy in those early scenes has some type of emotional reaction so that he has a connection with why he's doing all the killings, which then plays into exactly why he's actually doing the killings himself. Um,
Yeah, that reaction that he does is like anger.
yeah,
So it's a very unnatural reaction for a paramedic who's detached, but at the same time, since this happens earlier in the film and you see him twice earlier, and then you don't see him again until the end, so it's kind of like I don't know, unless you're like, especially the first time I saw it, I didn't put it together, but it's pretty obvious when you see that reaction. It's pretty obvious that there's something not right with that character, the way he reacts to it.
oh yeah. And the fact that they make mention of Joey, his son, who gets killed with the axe. When the sheriff goes up to Matt or Matthew, I can't remember his full name. I think it was Matt. And
Yeah,
tells him,
yeah. They
Matt,
call him both, but
yeah,
his
okay.
full name is Matthew, but he's billed as Matt, but that Matt's short for Matthew. So
All right, so Matt tells the sheriff that Joey didn't have any parents. His mother died in childbirth. Blah blah. All that they put all those details in there, which is good. So that when you're rewatching it and you're actually paying attention to the details, they're all there. Uh,
yeah. But the thing about the Joey character, who's like, by the way, this takes place at a Pinehurst. Was it Pinehurst Youth Development Center?
yeah,
Kind of like what they originally with the second Friday the 13th, they wanted the surviving character from that movie to have a similar experience to this. This was like a brushed off script from the second Friday the 13th, and they wanted that character to go to a sanitarium like place and have this experience, but it didn't work out with that. I think maybe the actress wasn't available, or maybe some producer like didn't want to do it. They've had some bad luck with the actors in between movies, really. Even going into the sixth one, they couldn't get this actor back who played Tommy Jarvis in this one again because they did offer him the part again, and he said he was a born again Christian at that time and
What?
wouldn't take it part, wouldn't take it. But it does look like later on he was in a Friday the 13th the series episode, so maybe he changed his point of view a little bit on that. But it's really bad luck. Really bad luck for the producers with this happening, you know.
Yeah, but good luck for us because I love Tom Matthews in the
Oh yeah,
next dude.
yeah.
I've always liked Tom Matthews. I think he's an actor who just played in really he's really good actor who just played in, I hate to say this, silly movies that are extremely entertaining.
No, I agree. I agree. Like Return of the Living Dead and
Yeah.
especially Return of the Living Dead 2. I don't. I think he's underrated and they
Yeah.
underused. I mean, I would like, especially during that time period. I'm surprised someone didn't just start casting him and stuff. You know, from what
Yeah.
he did in these two movies,
Well, and I think
two
that's why I
franchises.
don't like the actor in this one nearly as much because I like Corey Feldman and I like Tom Matthews, and Tom Matthews brought so much mannerisms and little bits of character in all of his looks in part six that
Yeah,
was lacking in this movie. As many
but
times as I
yeah,
watch this movie, it seems like the guy, I think it was Shepard, John
John
Shepard.
Shepard, John
It's
Shepard.
like he has one emotion. I'm angry. I'm angry. Ah. And and I was like, God, I'm kind of annoyed by it.
Well, yeah, I think, but the problem though that John was facing here, it's something that Tom Matthews didn't face because Tom Matthews could be a hero in this. So he does. Like, Tommy does briefly get to be almost a hero, but he's playing a character who's dealing with a traumatic experience, who's been in a mental institution, hardly talks, and is like it is dealing with a lot of that sort of thing. And so Tom Matthews doesn't have to deal with it quite as much, and he also is turning into a killer. But he does have some good moments in this that surprised me, especially on this new watch. Not the actor necessarily, but the character has some moments that I'll talk about more later. But he does have some pretty good moments.
Okay. Well, so getting back to the fact that this takes place at Pinehurst, which is
But
kind
yeah,
of,
yeah, yeah.
I like that concept. See, this movie, I like the concept of these kids who are supposed to be at the age where they're about to go out and live on their own, have this place that they need to reconnect with the real world, be able to do real things before they go out in the real world and have to fend for themselves. I like that concept.
Yeah.
I like the concept that, Tommy Jarvis is a character who's been more or less institutionalized because of the traumatic experience that was that happened to him. I like that. I like this location. I just believe that this location and this film had so many characters that they didn't know what to do with.
Well,
That
they knew what to do with them. They were going to kill them all.
yeah,
That's
I
what
mean,
they were
they
going
just
to do with
killed
them.
them all.
But something that I just thought of this, and I may have thought of it before, but there's Nightmare on Elm Street 3 takes place in a kind of similar location. It is more of a hospital, but it's funny how these franchises kind of did that. They kind of went
copy
towards,
off each other.
yeah. I don't even know if they're copying off each other, but it was like always. But that idea kind of happens naturally if you think about it from like a serial killer thing where like a character lives, and the next thing you know they're having like psychological problems from surviving it, and it makes sense that would be the next logical place for them to go with it.
Mm, mm.
But what we're saying though that yeah, so you're saying that the Pinehurst thing, and then there's a character named Joey there who's a bigger dude, and he seems like he's maybe autistic or ADHD big hard. But Tommy gets there, and you see Joey briefly. He doesn't interact with him much, but now the Joey scene is always the first time I saw this was I saw it on USA Up All Night, and the Joey scene is always draws a lot of attention because he gets killed by another one of the people there. His name's Vic, one of the patients or the recovering traumatic, but he comes over and he's just annoying. And first he tries to come over and talk to the girls who are doing laundry, and he's eating a candy bar and he's got chocolate all over his face, and he tries to help with the laundry, gets chocolate all over it. But then they tell him to go away. He goes over to this other crazy dude who's chopping wood with an axe, and just keeps talking to him until the dude like loses his shit and chops him up with the axe. A pretty brutal scene, and like in this cut, and this is what I was talking with you about earlier, is that I know I've seen this on USA where when he chops him with the axe, it actually shows the axe go I think, through his head, and that was always stuck out as like, holy moly, that just went really hard with that death. But it's weird that it's not on the regular version of it.
I thought that too.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
I was rewatching and I was like, I could have sworn the axe went through his head. I thought I was dreaming that, dude. When I rewatched the show.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's so. I'm like, why is it not in here? And I did some research online and I couldn't get a definitive answer, but it does seem like, I guess when we're watching on USA, I guess it was showing it through an SD version, from my memory, I didn't think it looked that bad. Maybe I would think it looked bad now, but um, apparently it's not that good of a quality, and then they couldn't really put it into this because they don't have the original footage. But I get that's what I get. But at the same time, I was thinking like I was like, did I imagine that? Because I could have sworn that's stuck in my head. That's the main thing I remember from this movie is that shot. Yeah.
No, I see. I thought I was dreaming that, dude. It's because I hadn't seen this movie in so long. I was like, I could have sworn.
Yeah.
And that's what happens when you're like, this movie has always been in the background when I used to do my long-term binge watching of the franchise. And so I kept thinking, oh shit, I must have just misremembered that. So
yeah, no, I'm like 98% sure that was in there.
Okay,
Because
okay.
that's something I remembered. Like, but that kill though, of course, it ends up being his son, what we said already. But it's always drawn a lot of attention, especially because it's not Jason killing him. The guy that killed him leaves. He's arrested. You never see him again.
No.
Um, so there's always been like a really stick out scene, and it's like, why is that scene there? And then when you find out the other guy was his dad, so it's always been, even when I saw it when I was younger, it stuck out to me as is something that was going to be brought back up eventually later on in the film.
No, I got that impression too. Until I realized that it was not the real Jason. There was this between the time I first watched this and I didn't care that it was. I always thought it was Jason. To watching part 6 and realizing that I missed something.
Yeah,
I had the same impression. I was like, it's like, okay, so this one random guy kills another random guy, but we don't see this guy again. Yeah, it was really weird for me growing up watching this. But
yeah,
having watched, I think the last time I binge watched all of these movies is when Jason X came out. I binge watched every one of them, and I don't even know what year that was, but that was the last time I binge watched them all. I did not, when the remake came out, binge watch them all.
yeah. Well, it wasn't that much longer again after that. It was 2009 when the remake came out, but this yeah, but it follows Tommy like to begin with. It starts with that dream sequence, and we do see the real Jason in the dream sequence. But then he comes to the place, and then he's not talking. We think he's not going to talk at all, but then he does talk a little bit when the Matt guy presses him a little bit. He goes into his office,
Yeah.
and it's pretty funny. The Pam Roberts character ends up being the kind of the final girl later on is the assistant director of the camp, and this is like one way that they did set somebody up here to get killed later. When he first gets there, there's a guy driving the truck who's one of the later victims.
Hmm.
And this is something that they do say this movie does fall dark, maybe dark comedy is what they say. But there is some really goofy, over the top
Characters.
acting in this, especially like the supporting characters. And this is kind of the first time you see it. And this guy who's driving him in there, opens the door and he's like, "Okay, Tommy, you can get out." And he's like, and then he doesn't get out. He's like, "Okay," he's like, "You can get out. I don't give a shit," or whatever, which is fine. But then the girl comes up, and then he starts kind of being like a kind of a douchebag to her, and then she gets Tommy out of the car, and then he makes like a "see you later," and he makes like some kind of like a tongue like licking action to her behind her back, and it's just like a very, I guess it kind of makes you remember the guy for later, but
Yeah.
that's the first time you see something kind of unnatural and over the top from a supporting character out of nowhere, you know?
I got that impression when I rewatched that too. When I rewatched it. Well, okay, so when I first watched this film, I remember this plainly. The only characters that I thought were weird were the Ethel and Junior character.
Yeah, yeah.
But when I rewatched it, I'm realizing that a lot of these characters are odd.
But
Like you're right. Like they were trying to go for some little dark comedy. The two greasers are just random kills in the movie. The
it's
paramedic,
yeah,
or the doctor, the paramedic who then gets killed later on with his girl at the cafe. Um, Especially when Junior and Ethel get killed later on in the film. It's like this movie has a weird sense of comedy. Or when Demon and Nina get killed, Demon's
yeah,
in a freaking shitter.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
That's something out of this world. That's actually pretty cool with that. But you do see this cartoon. It's almost like a cartoon. The supporting cast sometimes. It's so. I know they're maybe trying to go for some comedy, but they're just so. It's almost like even when you see like the cop talking to the mayor, it's like you're watching a friggin' cartoon, and it's so bizarre. And it doesn't help that the main characters are characters at this mental institution, and they aren't even acting as weird or as crazy acting as the supporting people of the town are acting. The supporting people of the town are acting like they're more mentally insane than some of the people at the mental institution, other than like Joey.
but yeah, and you're right. I don't. None of the other ones seem like they're kind of crazy. I think Jake has this speech impediment thing that
Yeah,
that works against him since he has a crush on one of the other patient or one of the other people in there. But the other ones all seem kind of relatively normal. Like you wanted
yeah.
to, other than Vic, who obviously kills Joey, you kind of wonder what's wrong with the other characters in there to be in that place to
Yeah.
begin with.
I mean, it could have just been juvenile stuff. I mean, obviously you got the two of them that keep going out in the woods and having sex, and they're a little over the top, but
They are, but that's funny.
yeah, but that works. But this may be the point of it. Really, other than Vic and Joey, Vic is very intense, and Joey's fairly realistic though, but he's not over the top. I mean, he's realistic in what he does.
Yeah.
But maybe that's the point. Is like the people who are not at the friggin' mental institution or youth development center are more crazy than the people who are in the friggin' thing. Maybe that's what they're going for, but or I mean, I don't know if that's what they were going for, or it could have been like they just knew they had to kill somebody every 7 minutes, and so they just wrote these goofy characters to stick out for those scenes.
I think I honestly, upon rewatching the film, I honestly believe that they made them kind of goofy to stick out, so that they didn't seem like just your random like normal kills that Jason would kill. Especially like the greasers who cars get what do you call it,
Yeah, the
loses
car
power.
breaks down. Yeah,
Yeah, the car breaks down. Thank you. I
yeah,
think
yeah,
it breaks
yeah,
down.
yeah.
But and then when Pam's truck breaks down later on in the film, it's kind of like, oh shit. So this movie has two car breakdowns in it.
And if you remember from watching Friday the 13th Part 4, happened in that one too. So
Well, that became a cliche in those 80s movies where the car has to break down and the person can't escape. Because it happened in part 3 too. Yeah, part 3 where the gangs or the little gang bangers fill the truck up with I can't forget, they take the gas out of the truck and then the truck stalls over the
oh
bridge.
yeah. Yeah. That was really bizarre. Like that, yeah.
So it's like that has to happen in these movies at some
Yeah, yeah.
point.
Yeah. It's a little weak in this one. I think it's weaker in this one than some of the others, but that gas thing was pretty hilarious from the third one.
Yeah, but there's no reason for these cars to just be. We have to get the greasers to stop so they can get killed.
Yeah,
Okay,
I know. Yeah.
you
Well,
know.
people do break down the side of the road, but I think going for it twice in this one was a little much. Uh, but yeah, so Tommy gets there into his room, and he has for some reason he's able to have his bag, a duffel bag that is revealed he has some of his masks from Part 4 in there, including one we actually saw on screen, like Corey Feldman wearing. And then he's got a pocket knife. He's able to, and he hides it for to use later in the film. But that's when Reggie is hiding in his closet and he scares him with like a toy spider, and then he Tommy turns around and he acts weird, and Reggie comes towards him. He turns around, and he has that bug mask on his head, and scares the shit out of Reggie. It's pretty awesome part there.
Yeah, and I also think that the actor playing Reggie does a good job in this film, though.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like he seems like completely genuine and into this role that he's playing, and so I'm glad he doesn't die in the movie because he brings so much energy to the film. Even when he's running, screaming through the woods, I was laughing my ass off. Because he makes that comment that he's not scared of anything earlier in the
Right.
film. Like,
No, he does a really. I like the character too. He does a really good job.
yeah, he does a really good job in this
He's
movie.
definitely one of the better characters. It kind of mirrors a little bit what Corey Feldman
Yeah.
does in the fourth one, but he does seem to keep his wits about him a little bit more. Especially he doesn't. You could tell he's not turning into Jason at the end of it like that. And he also has some cool wardrobe. He has this like red hoodie for most of the film that like kind of pops.
Oh, especially in those scenes in the rain while he's running through the woods. Oh hell yeah!
Yeah, yeah,
Whoever did that, that was a brilliant choice. That makes it pops really well
yeah.
in those shots. I'm not sure if you were watching the 4K version of this or because I was watching the Blu-ray version of
Well,
this.
they don't have a 4K of this one. There's Blu-ray's the best one, and they don't have a 4K scan. They do have a 4K scan of the first four, but this one hasn't been done yet.
Interesting.
Yeah, so
Okay.
maybe it will be one day. They do. I mean, hopefully they haven't released the fourth one to 4K yet either, but they do have a 4K scan that's on the Blu-ray disc. But yeah, but
Well, the Blu-ray for this looked amazing. And I
yeah,
can't recall if I've actually ever watched mine. Like I just have them in a set. I don't know
yeah.
if I've ever actually watched mine. I watched it for the show and I'm like, oh shit, this shit looks crystal clear. This looks
Yeah.
amazing.
It's like
I was
Crystal
like,
Lake
oh wow.
clear. No, yeah. No, I had to open mine too because it was part of that Shout Factory Friday the 13th
Yeah,
set. I
yeah.
definitely had to. It was still in the plastic. I had to open it up. But
Uh,
I didn't realize I hadn't seen it. But it had been a long time since I'd seen it. But I didn't remember a lot of it. I remembered like what I talked about with Joey. I remember the ending, and I remember the blue. Now the killer wears a blue Jason mask. It's a white with blue triangles. With the regular Jason mask has a red triangle in the middle of it. It's kind of a cool look though, the blue triangles.
I'm actually glad they do because in hindsight now, I
Yeah,
like the fact that this mask looks different than the other Jason mask. And that's because I've been to so many horror conventions and seen like all of the different Jason masks next to each other. And because this one's a new mask, it stands out more so than some of the other masks that I've seen. So this one, the mask for this one always looked kind of cool to me. Uh,
yeah. It does show the mask earlier on for the credit sequence. And like but before that with like it's kind of weird. Like the credit comes up and it shows Friday the 13th, and then the mask comes behind and explodes the title, and you see the blue mask for the first time, but you don't see it for a long time later after that, though.
Yeah, yeah. But it is cool that they spent enough time to kind of differentiate all the masks because we actually see the part four mask at the very beginning as well with the
The dream sequence.
the dream sequence with the axe wound in the mask. I was about to say machete, but it wasn't the machete that put him in the axe. That was the axe in the third movie that did that. Well,
Right, right.
trying to keep
Yeah.
track of them all. I used to be someone who actually paid attention to that because I have friends who are really into Friday 13th and having all the different type of masks and telling me the differences between all the masks. I was never that big of a fan, but I could tell the
Well,
difference because this one was so new. It is so different than the iconic one that it just stands out for me. So
right. Yeah, yeah. It's got that blue one, the blue little triangles. It looks different. But even in the dream sequences, the mask doesn't quite look like it did at the end of the fourth one because the triangle is a lot more clean. It's like more pronounced, but they can get away with it since it's a dream sequence. And yeah, but that is like really the only times we do. Tommy throughout the film sees the real Jason. Like he'll be looking in the mirror and he'll be standing behind him. And sometimes he'll look outside and he'll see him and then he'll disappear. So that's part of Tommy turning into Jason, but of course they like I said they walk it back later in the next movie. But,
Yeah, well, that's interesting the way they do that because obviously it's designed to be a red herring for people who've been paying attention to this franchise. That it could just be Tommy Jarvis who's doing all the killings and not Jake.
right? Yeah, yeah.
Um,
And
and I am hoping that when this movie originally came out, that made an impression with a lot of people. I didn't get that obviously because I was too young to pick up on that stuff when I was watching this movie. Um, but I'm hoping that was the intention by the
oh yeah,
filmmakers.
it definitely was. And
Yeah.
they keep him off screen when stuff's happening,
Yes.
and then sometimes he acts weird when he does come on screen. um, but yeah, the punks are the next ones to get killed. They're they're really the first ones that are killed by the imposter Jason. The punks on the side of the road, the greasers.
Greasers.
Yeah,
I call
it's
them
like
greasers.
greasers. Yeah, it's just random, and then one of them has to go take a piss, or the other one's at the car, and then the imposter Jason comes up with a flare and then sticks it into the guy's mouth, which is kind of a cool shot. This one, it does seem like maybe they were censored a little bit because some things do kind of cut. The other guy gets back in the car
Singing
and
that stupid song.
yeah, and he's talking. So but then Jason's in the back seat and comes up and slits his throat with a machete, and that's kind of cool, I guess. But it's random because you got these random punks on like just broken down.
Yeah,
If you
because
think,
we have never seen them before in the film,
yeah,
and we never see them again. This is literally the only scene they're in, and it's so random. But
yeah,
like I said, I never took that into consideration when I first saw the film. Only when I rewatched it, and I'm like, there's a lot of random kills in this movie, and it's kind of like it's okay because some of them are killed really cleverly, in my opinion. I like the whole flare in the mouth one. Uh,
yeah,
the machete coming through the seat for the other one wasn't interesting, but it's funny to me because the guy's singing that stupid song uh, right before he gets killed, and they play that up like
right, right, yeah. Well, he actually comes up and I think he slits his throat. He doesn't come through the seat, but he actually comes up and slits his throat. You know,
yeah.
it's
Oh,
a
that's right. Yeah, you're right.
yeah, yeah. It's kind of, I mean, it's kind of a cool move. You know, we kind of see it coming. We know it's coming, but it still works. I did skip over the really ridiculous hillbilly neighbors scene.
Ethel and Junior.
Yeah, it's like it's like out of Beverly Hillbillies or something. Even worse than that. But she's wearing this like curly wig thing. She's kind of funny, and she cusses a lot, which is funny. But it is like they're just very unbelievable and almost like it's almost like a cartoon. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, no, that's what I was saying, where it's really odd and funny with
yeah,
certain characters in it. The Ethel and Junior character who are sick of the young people coming into her yard and having sex.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
and then, of course, they get the random drifter who, you know, who is like, oh, he's ugliest man I've ever seen. And
yeah,
I'm like, holy shit.
yeah,
No wonder she had a son like Junior.
yeah. I mean, it's so and. I mean, it's like it's just so like out of like in that same scene where the drifter comes in, it's like Junior's over there like eating this slop bowl, and she's sitting there talking about making more food, and it's just like it's so I don't know. I don't know how much it works. I don't know if people thought it was funny. I've always thought it was just like a. I mean, it's it for this particular film, it kind of just sticks out like it's like they're trying too hard with it.
It does, but I'm trying to reconcile
Yeah,
with whether or not that was so off-putting for audiences in 85 versus now.
right.
Now it sticks out as a sore thumb, and it's like the greasers doing a lot of it, and like Miguel A. Nunez's kill in the freaking toiletry. It just that stuff sticks out as being odd and maybe was trying too hard to be funny. But in 85, I always kind of wonder what initial audiences thought about this because it's not the real Jason. If this was a real Friday 13th film, we wouldn't have seen these type of kills in it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
like
I don't know. I mean, it's weird the way I don't. I think maybe I might have like used to think something like that might have been funny, and maybe maybe in some instances that type of thing would be funny, but it just seems like it's played up a little too hard in this. I
Hard.
don't, yeah, but I don't know. I don't want to spend. I don't want to dwell on it too much. You keep saying the same thing, but it definitely is. I don't remember it either. Like we were talking about seeing it before. It's not something that stuck out to me as something that didn't work before, but it could have been just something that I saw and just like refused to accept it happening.
Oh no, I get you. I get you on that. Like I said, because I always only put this one in the background. I didn't think about a lot of stuff like this over the years until we were prepping for this show.
Now, without the handyman that shows up, and this is an interesting thing that the director says on the behind the scenes. I'm going to make some conclusions about this whole thing because the way that he says it, and he's often joking on what he says, but so there's this random scene cuts to the Ethel Hubbard house and the scene we just talked about, and the handyman shows up and he says he needs some work, and she tells him to go clean the chicken shit out of the pen. Yeah, I think she says shit or something. But
yeah, she does.
but she tells him to go clean it, and then she'll give him some food to eat. And the food's going to be terrible, you can tell already. But
yeah,
Junior seems to like it. But he goes, and he's established for one purpose and one purpose only. Later on, when the two teenagers come out into the woods and have sex, he's watching them, and then he gets killed. And so the director, when he's talking about the movie in an interview, he says that the producers hated the sex scene and they cut it out. He says that he shot a really good sex scene. He used to actually did a porno before this. and well, the producers, which they thought this movie, they said it was a porno in the woods and there's hardly anything in it. But apparently there was another sex scene somewhere that they cut out too. But I don't know where that would have been. But see, he said they did a pretty bit long sex scene. They sat out there shooting that all day, and the producers put that insert in there, the guy getting killed. So maybe the producers actually did that. Like I don't know if the director actually shot that or not. And then they may have even shot the other weird ass scene at the Hubbard house. I don't know. I mean, he doesn't say that specifically, but he does say that he had to cut the sex scene out, and this is what the producers put in there. This guy getting killed watching them.
Interesting. Because I always kind of pictured them using that guy. I always called him a drifter, but handyman is probably a much better term. As just
well, no, Drifter thinks accurate. He does kind of show up.
As another red herring, like
he's in it for like 2 seconds.
he's in it like for 2 seconds. It's like they're trying to have all these random characters that could possibly be that in this film. Like even the Miguel L. Nunez demon character, who only shows up for the one big scene before him and his girlfriend gets killed off.
Yeah.
That makes it a point of just having random characters who just show up.
Right.
And then getting killed. Like it's like the audience is not gonna needs to try and figure out the mystery of who this could be if it's not Tommy Jarvis. But we watch all these characters get killed. So you're wondering why there's so many just random kills. Like none of the other movies really do that often.
Yeah. Some of it's pretty cool, especially when you're getting into that outhouse scene. That sequence is actually, and that actor from also in Return of the Living Dead he's very charismatic, and he's really standout character in those scenes. It may be a little over the top, but not like over the top in the way that the Hubbards are.
No, definitely not. He reminds me of his character or the characters from Night of the Living Dead. He's he's like a punk rocker.
Yeah. The Return of the Living Dead one.
It's funny because the scene, because he's singing back to Nina, who's outside the outhouse, and they're singing like a little ballad there.
Yeah, it's awesome.
He's dressed like a little punk rocker. I still find that hilarious as shit every time I watch.
Yeah, it's weird though. Like the dialogue between them is so good for that. It's almost like written by a different person than the rest of the stuff. Like even like when you see the redneck dialogue it almost seems like it's written by a different person because it has the same back and forth kind of funness to it, but
Hmm.
but it doesn't work as well for the redneck part as it does for that part with Demon and his girlfriend.
Well, we'll say that I and the reason why I know who Miguel L. Nunez is because I watched him in Tour of Duty, and that's one of my favorite fucking war shows ever. Like
Okay,
literally,
yeah.
I've rewatched that show so many times. I don't know if you've ever seen Tour of Duty.
No, no, I haven't seen
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
It's good
yeah.
then.
He's one of the main cast in that show. I fucking love that show, and I've probably rewatched it like 2 years ago.
When did they make that?
Oh, it's the law, probably the '80s, dude.
So he was young like he was in this one and that.
Yes,
Okay, yeah, he's probably yeah. It does seem like I've seen him in something else. I know he was in Return of the Living
87,
Dead. Yeah, yeah,
1987.
87. Yeah, so yeah, 2 years after this, right?
Yeah, they did 3 years of it, and if you were to watch it now, you'll recognize a lot of faces of actors who were in this Vietnam War era type. Or no, this is not Vietnam. Yeah, it's Vietnam War. Almost,
Is
yeah.
it? Yeah,
So
Tour of Duty.
yeah, he's one of the stars of that, and that's where I know him from. And of course, that was the '80s, just like this was the '80s. And I can't remember when Return of the Living Dead came out. So I'd probably seen this actor in a lot of shit in the '80s, and it just stuck
Yeah,
with me for a long time. uh,
yeah.
there's no
Th-
other actor in this movie that made an impression on me other than the Reggie character, but I never followed Reggie's kind of career. Uh,
yeah, he was in Different Strokes before this. The actor who played him,
mm,
I think he's still continuing to work, but I don't know what is. I don't see anything that really stuck out to me as something I'd seen before, though.
gotcha.
I did used to watch Different Strokes, so he's one of Arnold's friends on there. But
Yeah, I watched it too, but I couldn't tell you shit about it because I have never rewatched it.
yeah, I hadn't either. I liked it a lot for some reason. I don't know why. What like freaking hilarious. So back when I was a kid, I thought it was the funniest thing. It's like, what you talking about, Willis? You know, like all the time.
I don't
He had
even
to do
try to
that.
do
Yeah, he had to do that at
it.
least once an episode, I guess.
Oh Jesus! What are you talking about, Jason Voorhees?
Yeah, yeah.
Jesus.
But
Uh,
yeah. So when they go into this, it's kind of a cool setup. It makes you think of a camp. They have like a rec room area at this place, and kind of the whole setup kind of looks a little bit like a camp, especially when
yes.
they go into here and we meet like Reggie's granddad, who's also the cook, I guess. And what's really hilarious that happens is Tommy's in there, and then this other idiot, the guy who goes out in the woods with the girl and has sex with her later, comes in with one of his masks on and tries to scare him, and Tommy
Yeah.
just like beats the shit out of him. It's
But
hilarious.
that's one of the things where I said like he has only one emotion. Like it's always rage. So that seems the most out of place that he just picks him up, throws him around, and just keeps wailing on him until Pam has to come or Matt comes to stop him. I was like,
Yeah.
that's like an extreme reaction.
Right,
Like,
but yeah, but I kind of like it though
yeah,
because yeah, I mean, I think you think it's extreme, and maybe it is, but I think it goes in line with um the way that he acts at the end of the fourth one when he kills Jason, and it also puts him in. It does two things for the character. One, it kind of makes him look like he could do something violent, but it
yeah,
also helps with the sixth one because he still is able to fight. It puts his character, especially here. This guy doesn't look like he could fight. And obviously, it's a stunt man that picks the guy up and throws him, but he doesn't look like he would fight. And it's cool that he can fight. And later on, you get to see him do that to somebody else, like
yeah.
just beat the shit out of somebody else in a really awesome way. And so when he shows back up at the end, when you haven't seen him for a while, and it turns out that he's not Jason, you expect him to fight Jason, and become the hero that we all want him to be. But the script had different plans for him.
No, I do believe that they needed that scene to show how violent he was. Like the last time we saw violence from any of the characters was when Vic killed Joey, and it kind of brings to mind that there could be violent other people here at this place because of how Tommy reacts. I know it's there for a reason, and then of course, like we see him actually fight, what makes it very interesting to see Tommy actually do some like cool moves as fighting. And I do believe that you're right. It's kind of a letdown that we don't get to see him fight the faux Jason, the Roy Jason.
But
Um,
they're I mean, there's a reason for it.
Yeah, there's a reason for
Yeah,
it.
other than just the script, there is psychological reason for it
Psychological, yeah.
because he reverts. I guess like. I mean, I don't know. I guess he's been having trouble processing this, but Corey Feld,
PTSD.
yeah, when Corey Feldman was younger, when he fought Jason, he fought him and he killed him with the help of his sister, of course. But here he freezes instead of fights. But he has been dealing with it for a long period of time, so I guess it's just a trauma thing, and he's not expecting Jason to actually show back up.
Yeah. Uh, and then after that fight in the mess hall slash area, where do we go from there?
So two things happen. One is the last time we see the paramedic before he's revealed later on. It's about 33 minutes in. We see him the second time at the crime scene with the greasers. They're taking the greasers away, and he's it's an odd scene. It's kind of cool. Like the guy, one of the I think the police says something, and Roy asks if he's talking to him. He's like, "No, I'm not talking to you." And then he walks away. And that's the last time we see him. And
Yeah.
it kind of, I mean, I don't know if we needed to see him over and over again, but it is hard to connect it at the end, especially the way they probably should have killed him differently, really, in a way that we saw him better, and he maybe could have had some more dialogue or something. I think that would have helped a lot
Yeah.
with the reveal. We didn't need like a monologue or whatever, but I really think that it's an interesting choice that Roy makes to become Jason. He actually becomes Jason. He does. He's not. I think he doesn't see himself as Roy anymore because I think he actually puts on this Jason stuff, and he really thinks that he is Jason. I think that's the best way to treat what he does.
I'm gonna agree with you on that because if it was not that, I would think he would only want to kill the people who are involved with that place. And but he kills random people. So I always got the impression that he kind of becomes Jason once he puts that mask and that whole persona on, and he just ends up killing like Jason, just random people who kind of get in his way, or he sees, or it might be good cannon fodder. Um, and so that's the only justification I have for why there are so many extra kills of random people.
Other than we know why they're there technically, but to justify it, which I think it is, yeah, I think it is there, but it's not really. He doesn't get that opportunity as an actor to reveal this for a fact, unfortunately. But uh, what happens next is the next random kills at the restaurant with the shows that
Billy.
driver again, Billy, and yeah, and he's got like a girlfriend there who's a waitress. He's still kind of acting like a douche a little bit, but not as bad because she's going to go home with him or whatever. And
Yeah,
then
I can't remember Billy's girl, but I don't remember her name.
her name's Lena, and
Lena. Billy
Lena.
Lena.
A random waitress is her name that we spend a good like 6 minutes with, out of nowhere. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because you would think that they probably drove a little ways to bring Tommy to this place, and then they're not that far away. So this is where I come into having an issue with the film and the way it's handled. Is that I guess Roy just hangs around everywhere, random,
Yeah.
to kill random people, and that's what I have the issue with. If it'd be different if he was hanging around like Pinehurst and killing these people.
Yeah.
But we're not given that information. The greasers, we don't know where exactly they are. They're just on a road somewhere to somewhere.
I don't think he's hanging around Pinehurst at all because I think once he gets to Pinehurst, he's just killing people. But he's not
Yeah,
hanging around stealthily like Jason typically does
yeah.
and stalking.
So that's
You know?
where I have an issue with this film is that like everything just seems too random. I think that's
Yeah.
why I wanted there to be an actual reason for why he's doing what he's doing. If he killed the people at Pinehurst, I can understand that. But it's just all the randomness that kind of throws the film off for me. Now, When I was a kid, all I cared about was seeing Jason kill people. It didn't matter back then. But now,
Yeah,
that was an issue when I was rewatching the film.
right. It does keep your attention because like every 7 minutes, some
Every
crazy shit happens, and if you don't know the answer already, you are in your head kind of either A, very entertained by the deaths, or B, wondering what's connecting it all, which there is no connection.
yeah,
If you're there for the deaths, like we were, it definitely sells that, and it definitely gives you that. And the Billy characters, she's in the car and he's waiting in the car for her to go finish closing up inside the restaurant, and he's got the car door open. The fake Jason comes up behind him with the axe and just like buries the axe in the back of his head, and it's kind of a cool effect.
yeah.
And then Atlanta's inside the restaurant, and there's a pretty long sequence with her kind of being stalked by him at that point, and he eventually throws the axe into her chest. The director, obviously this is an effect that also happened in part four for a major character in part four. The director didn't watch part four. You could tell when he was like what he during the director's commentary, he was asking questions about part four. He's asking about the mask. He's like, the mask were in part four, right? Or something like that. So, and the car breaking down, he didn't know that he was repeating some gags that were also in part four. But, and not as good either, because the axe to the chest, like we were talking about with John Conkle on the last one, which he said it represents the heartbreaking for the virgin character who just had sex for the first time, and then the axe goes right into her heart. This one is a random waitress we spend 6 minutes with out of nowhere, and then gets killed. But it does add some suspense to it. But at the same time, the whole time we're wondering like, what's up with these characters? We don't know who these people are.
Nah,
Um,
I'm and I'm trying to remember if there's more random characters after this. I think these were the main ones.
yeah, I think those with the Hubbards. The Hubbards get killed later on. But yeah, it starts getting into the main teens pretty soon because we're at 40 minutes in. The first of the main teens are killed at about 43 minutes into it, which is typical for these Friday the 13th
Yes.
films because that's right when you want to start killing off people. So to the point that you're basically going for it at that point. You're like, now we're killing all the rest of the characters until there's like the final people left. But there is here I made a note here, another one of these over the top scenes. I briefly touched on it earlier, but there's a scene where this mayor comes in
Mm.
talking to the sheriff in the station, and while it's such an oddly some of the direction, I feel like some of the direction on some of these scenes is just bizarre. And the mayor saying all this stupid stuff like they said in Jaws about, similar to like this stuff don't happen in our town. What's going on here? And then the police officer's just sitting there puffing on a cigarette in the guy's face when the guy's having this big rant. And then when he gets done, the police officer says he thinks it's Jason Voorhees, and then the
Yeah.
mayor has a over the top rant and it tells him to figure it out and get it dealt with. It's not Jason Voorhees. So it's just I don't know. What did you think about that scene?
I think that it's a scene designed to kind of reiterate to the audience that the killer could exactly be Jason Voorhees. I
Right.
think that it's all just a smoke screen for the overall mystery that the film is trying to create in that this may or may not be Jason Voorhees, and if it isn't Jason Voorhees, it could be these other characters. Um,
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the scene. I just don't like the way that it was staged or directed. Something about the way some of these supporting characters in the scenes that aren't the main scenes, it just seems like they don't act in a natural way. Where that scene could have been more natural, and it could have been what I would have think it could have been a pretty good scene, but it just comes off as kind of
Hokey,
kind of hokey to me
yeah,
and unrealistic for some reason. But again, there is dark comedy, but there's also just like there's a fine line between like too over the top acting in a scene, and and just like not having any subtlety whatsoever. There's like
Yeah.
no subtlety at all. Where the scene could have still had some comedy in it and been a little more subtle, especially if the mayor character had played it calmer at first, and then when the cop says, um, I think it's Jason Voorhees, and then loses shit. But when he comes in big and he goes out big, there's nowhere else to go
Yeah.
with the performance. But
Yeah.
I'm nitpicking a really minor scene of the film, but that doesn't mean it. It doesn't matter. But I'm just saying when you see some of those scenes, especially with those smaller characters, they just seem like they go big, and they're there to chew the screen, chew the scenery, and milk it for whatever they can. And there's just like they don't have any subtlety. Where even like the redneck characters, if they would have mixed some subtlety into some of the stuff that they were doing, it would have been a lot better.
Well, yes, it would have been better, but I think that's what we saw is generally what the filmmaker was going for with this weird, dark comedy vibe, and not going with a straightforward horror film because there's a lot of nudity in this film too. Let's not forget that there's a lot of nudity in this film too. Uh,
Which we don't see until the next scene after this when they go into the woods and have sex. Which,
yeah.
yeah,
But it's not
yeah,
just her, but the other girl who gets killed in her bedroom,
yeah,
where she just gets undressed and then climbs in the bed completely, almost completely nude.
yeah.
For some odd reason, this one does not shy away from that. It does
Well,
not shy from people getting killed either.
yeah.
It
Were
just
you on?
shies.
Were you on board with that when she took off her clothes and got in the bed nude like that?
When I was younger, I was just excited. I could probably say, but it didn't seem logical to me. But lo and behold, as you get older, I've met lots of women who do that. So
Yeah.
it's perfectly fine.
I'm kidding. I like the scene. It was fun for me.
Yeah, I was like, dude, the thing about this movie is when you're a kid,
Yeah.
and I reference that a lot for this movie because my impressions of this movie when I was really young versus when I became a teenager and they had part 6, 7, 8 up until the Jason Goes to Hell,
Yeah.
and then now, my impressions of these movies have changed. When I was a teenager, I hated these movies. When I was prepubescent, I love the movies because I just like to see the kills. I'm older now, and I'm trying to figure out why the fuck these movies were so popular and still popular.
Yeah.
Um, and
But
so my impressions has changed with each generation, with each decade, because I'm trying to assess this franchise as a whole, and not always necessarily as an individual, which is why it's interesting that we're having conversation about the only one that doesn't have Jason in it.
yeah. But did yeah, let's see, what was I gonna say? Yeah, I bet you the producers were thinking the same thing as what is it that's making people want to see this same thing over and over again? And it's like they don't want it changed. They just want to see the same thing.
Oh no, I remember being a kid. I don't know if you were. There was the rumor going on. Friday 13th is gonna go to number 13 and then end it completely. And I was like, all right. As a kid,
Well, technically, they did end it at 13 at this point until they make more. But there's 13 of them right now.
is there 13? Oh,
Yeah,
are you counting Jason versus Freddy too?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I always forget to add that one in
yeah, yeah.
there.
Yeah, including that one, I guess. But yeah, if you include that one, there's 13 of them, and the remake, but
Yeah,
in
and the remake.
2009. Um, but yeah, I mean, I never heard that rumor as a kid, but it makes sense because it's Friday the 13th, and we're going to go to the 13th, and
Dude,
the 13th one's going to be the bomb.
I guarantee you that was wish fulfillment from me and all my friends as a kid that we had all made up this rumor that the
Yeah,
Friday 13th franchise is gonna go to number 13 and it
yeah,
did. I guarantee you, I don't think there was ever a real rumor out there. And if there is, please someone tell me, leave a comment. I don't think there was ever a real rumor that these movies were trying to get up to 13.
yeah. They weren't trying to be like Quentin Tarantino and name how many they're going to do.
Yeah.
They were going to keep making these until they stopped making money or they lost the rights to what they could do. And clearly, as it got into this one, still made money. It didn't make as much as the fourth one. This one did $2.2 million dollars. It made $21.9 million dollars, which is with that $2.2 million dollars, it's still making a pretty good bit of money. But you see, looking going forward, they made around that same amount. and it wasn't growing. They were actually diminishing a little bit. So they were on a diminishing like track with it. They weren't growing in the amount of money. But they had a real shock with part four, I think, when they made a lot of money on that one.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And I always kept thinking that part six made a shit ton of money, but
I think it's similar to this. It was similar. I
yeah.
think they were making enough money to keep going until eight, and then
And
they,
then it kind of went,
yeah.
it went dormant for a while, I believe, between part eight and Jason Goes to Hell.
Right, yeah. Jason Goes to Hell was the first one I saw actually in the theater.
Same
I
here.
remember, yeah, I remember part eight being out. And I remember the trailers for part eight and being such a big deal that he was going to Manhattan and all that. So that
Mhm.
was, I remember all that. But then I didn't see that one in the theater though.
No, Jason Goes to Hell was the first one I saw in the theater. And I saw it twice because I had a friend who wanted to go see it right after I'd already seen it.
I
Opening
saw it
weekend.
twice too. Yeah, I saw it. I may have saw it. I may have watched it three times, man. I really liked it, but
Oh, Jesus.
I saw it because they had like the regular movie theater, and then they had the dollar movie theater
Yes.
like a month or two later. And I think I saw it twice at the dollar theater and once at the regular one.
I saw it like that. I saw it once at the regular and once at the dollar theater. I
Yeah,
used to do that a lot back in the day.
yeah,
Do
yeah,
that a lot. When you're younger, yeah, dollar theaters didn't care who went to go see what movie. They just took your dollar and you go see whatever the fuck you wanted to see,
yeah,
rated R or not, dude. It was great.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. The dollar theater is pretty damn hilarious too. It's like, how are they even making money? I guess off the concessions or something.
concessions. They're making
Yeah,
money off concessions. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, concessions is how theaters make all their money, dude.
yeah.
But yeah. So I don't even remember where we were with this one. We got
So yeah, so this is like when the teens start getting killed. So
oh,
they have the sex scene
mm-hmm,
that was cut because they would get to watch the weird handyman dude see them and get killed, stabbed with a machete. But then he kills both of the teens. They in a similar fashion to not fashion, but the way that the I think the one guy goes off into the woods to go pee like the card guy. So it's a kind of
mm-hmm.
similar setup. Do you, so you want to talk about the girl getting killed? You remember the
Yeah, I remember
yeah
her getting killed. She the thing about that is for the longest time, I actually wanted, and this is a weird thing for this Jason movie in particular, in that Jason kills these characters in different ways. The Roy Jason, and so that's maintaining kind of the aesthetic of the real Jason. But
yeah
you kind of think that the fake Roy Jason might just use the same method of killing because he wouldn't know how Jason actually killed any fucking body. Uh, so with this one, he kills the naked teenager. I'm gonna call her teenager because she isn't an adult yet. By taking not like cut like trimming shears, and
yeah
just cuts into her eyeballs. Now, when you first see that, you're thinking that she's gonna chop off her head. I was like, oh yeah, we got a
yeah
decapitation here. All right.
yeah
And then the boyfriend comes from the walk in the woods, and he's just like walking up his girl because she's lying on the picnic blanket away from him, and he gets closer, and then he sits down next to her, and he reveals her body, and he's like, "Oh my god!" And all you see is like just the mark in the eyeballs where she's been cut, and I'm like, "Oh man, I wanted to see a decapitation."
yeah. I mean, I don't know. I thought it was better that they did the eyeballs. It was because the decapitation probably would not have looked very good, more than likely. But it also would have. I thought that it was a decapitation too, though, because the way it was shot, it
Wait,
kind of looked like yeah, he came down like a point of view of the shears, and it comes in out of frame. You hear the snap, like a crunch, and it sounds like a head being cut off, and then he comes back out with the shears all bloody. Cool shot too when that
yeah, but
happens.
I'm thinking like if he's just putting it in her eyes, then he's like, okay, I'm gonna just put them in slowly, just the eyes, chink, because I don't want to ruin the hair or the
Yeah,
head.
yeah,
I'm like, oh no, dude,
yeah, yeah,
I wanted a decapitation.
yeah,
I so wanted a decapitation. I was okay though after that because the guy like is like, oh god, and runs up backwards up into a tree. And of course, Jason gets the little belt thing that goes around his head, and
yeah.
he's just squeezing it and twisting it and twisting it until it kind of collapses. The belt collapses within his skull. And I'm like, okay, that makes up a little bit for it.
Yeah, it was nice that she was completely nude during the whole
Well,
sequence
it
too.
does.
But she actually looks really good. She apparently posed for Playboy at some point, so they knew where to find the right person for that. But
Well, well, that's the thing about this movie. Like we said earlier, that it was not shy from the nudity. It wasn't shy for the foul language either. Uh,
yeah,
you
oh
know,
yeah, there's a lot
there's
of
a lot.
profanity in it. But it's funny though. Her name, the character's name is Tina.
Mm.
There's a Tina in part four too. It was kind of like almost like a Hammer horror thing where they're just like reusing the names again. So probably not intentional, but it's just funny that and then it's like, and I also thought it was funny too when when the boyfriend jumped up and nicely ran into the tree and the
Mm.
guy was ready with the belt. Like, how do you jump up and like run right into a tree like that? Like back into it, you know? You- But I don't know. I mean, obviously they had to get the gag set up, but it's
Yeah.
just kind of funny. Yeah.
Yes. Well, there's a lot of Well, I will say this: most of these are like little gags, with each of the kills, and I'm fine with that. It's a Jason movie, to be honest.
Yeah. I'm definitely overlooking. It's not. That's nothing. I just think it's funny. I
Oh
think
yeah,
it's funny when you're watching them get in place to get killed. It's like it's like. Plus, like the guys with the belt. He just knows the guy's going to run into the tree when he when he backs up. So
yeah, and he's like has that handy to use. Like, okay,
yeah. But yeah, we're overlooking it there, but it's still pretty funny.
oh yeah,
But well, after that, that's when we go to the trailer park, which is an interesting setup because like Tommy goes with Pam, the assistant director of the camp, and
Reggie.
Reggie. It's Reggie's brother that they're going to go see.
This is Demon slash Miguel A. Nunez. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah, and Nina, who is his girlfriend, and they're in this little trailer. Or what is it? Do we see his whole vehicle?
yeah. It's more like a
Uh,
it's more like a car, I think, or like a
a big
big
ass
car.
van.
Yeah, a big van or something. They're in an RV park and a
Yeah,
really sketchy one too, apparently.
yeah, with that type of outhouse.
Yeah. And there's like some pretty funny dialogue going on. Yeah, because it's not an RV because it's like a van that doesn't have a toilet because he has to go to the outhouse outside. But and there's like some hilarious talk. He keeps trying to give him food. Like he tries to give like Reggie a burrito or enchilada, and then he tries to he's got like a bunch of food in there that's been sitting around inside this van like for hours. That's why ends up having to go to the bathroom.
That's why I kind of have to laugh at certain things. Is like after Reggie, after the big thing with what's his face, Tommy. Why does Tommy have to run off again? He has a fight with somebody.
Yeah. So that's one of my favorite scenes
Yeah,
really because he stays out. He stays by the van. He doesn't want to go hang out with Demon. It's kind of funny. Like Reggie brings. I'm gonna get back to Tommy just a second, but Reggie brings Pam in there, this adult counselor, and he's like says Demon that she's his girlfriend,
yeah.
and she doesn't correct him or anything. She just goes along, and she's actually sitting in there in the van with him. But so Tommy's back there, and then that idiot Junior
Oh, yeah,
Hubbard
that's right. That's what June.
comes up there. Yeah, Junior Hubbard's actually the actor playing him is a lot better in this scene than any other scene that he's in because he does. To me in this scene he's more. He starts messing with him and like kind of getting in his face and whatever he does in the scene just seems less over the top for some reason. It's over the top, but he just seems to me like more like something like some idiot would do like that. And
Yeah,
then
well,
Tommy just yeah, go ahead.
no, you were about to get to it. Tommy just kind of wails on, which is actually
Yeah.
a really exciting scene there. I was like, you're not expecting Tommy to do what he does to the Junior character. Like he just goes off on him and wails. Like you can see
Yeah.
Tommy can fight. Like he,
Yeah.
it gives you this expectation that that's what we're going to see him do later on to the Jason character, which we don't actually, we already commented on that we don't get. But after the earlier scene with him and the one character Eddie, who steals his mask, and in this scene with Junior, you're kind of like, oh, we're gonna get a good little fight during that third act, aren't we?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I really do like that. But then of course Pam and Reggie have to go off and search for Tommy, who's run away.
Right. Yeah. Tommy runs off. Pam breaks it. I don't think they don't search for him too much because he runs off into the woods,
And he runs off the woods.
and they end up leaving. And for some reason, maybe this part makes a little more sense than not really. I was gonna say Roy being at the trailer park. It's like, how did he get there? How's he? Because he doesn't. Maybe in this instance, he is following the Pinehurst people.
The Roy J. This is another one of those scenes where I'm like, why is he
Yeah.
there? How does he
Yeah.
know to be there? Yes.
Yeah.
I've always had an issue with even when I was younger, I had an issue with this one. The other ones I can kind of get around, but this one I always kind of wonder how the hell does he even they have to drive they
Yeah.
have to drive to get there. So why the hell would Roy Jason be over there to begin with in order to kill the Demon and Nina character? It never made sense to me, other
Yeah.
than those two characters being more cannon fodder for the film and kills for the movie.
But there's it's even though that is the case, there's some hilarious shit that happens.
Well, yeah, because Demon says right after Reggie then leaves, he goes, "Oh, I can feel it coming on."
Yeah.
Because the enchiladas. Oh,
But it's funny that he's in there like having to go to the bathroom, and it's like an emergency enchilada situation. And then the girl, someone starts knocking on the damn outhouse, and he's just like, "Who is it?" And it's her. She's out there shaking it, like cracking up. And he's like, "You gonna get it, bitch?"
yeah, no.
And then,
Like,
and
damn.
and then she's like, "Light." But what's awesome about it is he's like, "You're gonna get it, bitch," and you would think she would take offense to that, but that's just the way they talk to each other. And she's like, "Oh, lighten up, Demon." She takes that as they're playing. And she's like, "You're gonna feel," and she actually says this. She's like, "You'll feel a lot better after you shit."
Yeah, and it's so odd, this whole scene. And then of course they start singing to each other. I'm like, okay, this is odd.
Yeah, this shit
Uh,
was, yeah.
and
I don't know. Yeah, this shit's awesome though.
it is. Don't get me wrong, it is. It's just odd that they start singing, and then of course when she stops responding back to his singing, that's when it starts shaking again.
Yeah,
Hey, I'm gonna get you, bitch.
yeah,
He dresses real quickly, and unfortunately, Nina's body is blocking the door, so he can't get out. And
yeah.
then we see him like scared as shit. And then of course we get the really cool impaling. I don't even know what Roy Jason is using to impale the shitter.
I think it's a tamper bar. Like a tamper bar is like kind of what you use when you're digging a hole, and you can use it to hit it into the hole to move the rocks around. It's like a large bar like that. It kind of looks like that to me, like a one with a pick end on it.
Okay, I always wondered what that was. It's cool, fucking
Yeah.
cool shit. Because they play it up. The first time it misses him, and then it gets him in the leg, and you see him over there terrified and shit. And then he leans against the wrong wall, and
Yeah.
then it goes straight through him. I like, damn.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a cool kill. It's one of the better ones in the film.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sad that we missed Nina getting killed, but I'm fine with it because we get to see Demon get impaled.
Right. Well, I don't think we needed to see Nina get killed because
No.
I think it would have messed up the sequence, because it's cool that he like the singing stops
Yeah.
and then you don't know what happened, and it's like that moment of suspense of what's going on and being trapped in this outhouse. Even though it's a goofy thing in an outhouse, it's still pretty damn scary if you've ever been in an outhouse and you think about like if somebody tried to mess with you from outside, you're kind of in a vulnerable spot.
Well, I will testify it is very disturbing to go to an outhouse in a camping facility in the middle of the night with only a flashlight, if you bothered to put batteries in your flashlight back in the day. I used to go camping every summer with other kids, and that would be some shit that the other kids would do. Like, if everyone's not asleep in the camp, fuckers would just go. They would wait for someone to go to the shitter and do that shit. It was so fucking annoying. Dude.
Yeah, that would suck. That sucked bad.
Yeah, of course it fucking
Yeah,
sucks, dude.
yeah,
You're in there and they're freaking classmates and you're in it,
yeah,
you're doing that shit. And just,
yeah,
dude, I went 3 summers to summer camp, dude. All I remember is one year avoiding going to that place unless it was daytime because those fuckers would get your ass at night.
yeah. That's hilarious, man.
When you're
Yeah,
kids in camp.
yeah. No, no,
Why I
that shit
bring
was
this up
good.
in camp,
Yeah,
you don't go to bed when people tell you to fucking. The grown-ups tell you it's bedtime. You don't fucking go to bed. You grab your flashlight, dude. Shit, nah. Of course, that was how my summer camp was.
yeah, yeah. It's I don't know. I mean, I think I went to summer camp, but I think we probably didn't do that. I think we tried to one time, and the dude busted us trying to sneak out. You know, we had whoever like the guy was in charge of our cabin was like hardcore about it.
Nah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, my experience, yeah, dude.
If
Fuck.
you don't, I mean, yeah, I mean, if you don't have somebody who's they're not paying that good attention, I think he probably took his job more serious than some other counselors did. You know, it's
Oh shit. So, then we come to,
yeah. Then
uh,
they go back to Pinehurst. Like Pam and Reggie return without Tommy, and then there's a lot of who's left out there is stutterer guy.
Jake.
Yeah, and then they say they tell her that Matt's missing,
George.
the counselor, or the main dude's missing. Tina and Eddie are missing, and
Who's
there's
George?
yeah George. Who's
Yeah,
George?
George is Reggie's grandfather.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. You're right.
I
And
did
there's
not. I don't
yeah.
remember them saying who he is until that point in the movie. Like it's just Reggie's grandfather. Until then, I realized, oh, they're talking about Reggie's grandfather because he's the one who gets his body gets thrown through the freaking window.
Right.
It's like, oh, okay, so he has to be George because he's the only fucking character that doesn't have a real name. It's just Reggie's grandfather.
Right. Yeah, but who's left is Jake, Robin, and Violet. And Violet is kind of like almost like a little bit of a punk rock sort
Yeah.
of character, a little bit, and then Robin's kind of set up a little bit of a good girl character. But Pam leaves Reggie with those three characters, and then goes off to look for Tommy again. And then we get to see the back at the Hubbard house. We get two more kills there.
Yep.
Um,
I do like that too. I do like the fact that fucking Junior is pissed off that Tommy beat the shit out of him.
yeah. That
Uh,
he's riding around on a motorcycle like a fool like that.
he is a fool, and he's riding around, and it's funny as shit. I have to admit, the hillbilly on the motorcycle was driving around like he's crazy.
Yeah,
And then of course, he gets his head chopped off by Roy Jason.
yeah.
Uh,
The
but
big ass meat cleaver chops his head off.
yes, I put that in my notes. A fucking meat cleaver. I was like,
Yeah,
when the hell did this guy get a meat cleaver of all the weapons?
I think he got it from them though. But she actually has it earlier in the movie when she's cutting up the chicken because she's
Uh,
got this raw chicken in there and she cuts its head off with it. So I don't know why it was outside, but maybe she left it out there or something, you know. Which is kind of odd for she's sitting inside the house doing that while the other guy's eating, you know.
well, they're hillbilly country people. I don't think they do things by the book or by any known rules. It's just a visual.
Yeah,
It's a visually weird and odd sequence. Then, but we always see her if she's not complaining about the kids to the sheriff or somebody in the kitchen cooking. That is
yeah.
all we ever see her doing.
She's complaining about it too. She's like, "Your dinner's ready," and she's like making this really, or she's making his dinner, and it's like this really
Yeah.
just big ass stew pot, and she just got water in there. She's throwing random vegetables into it. I don't even know what the plan was with that exactly, but
Some random stew shit, dude. That's how I see the slop
yeah.
that she sees Junior from earlier.
I don't even know if she puts any seasoning in it. You know, she's just throwing shit into this pot. I mean, you know,
Well, it's funny though. It's funny. It's funny on purpose, and it's even funnier when she stops hearing Junior on his bicycle, wondering what happened to him, and then of course, Roy Jason plunges right straight through the window where she's looking out of,
yeah,
and does he does something with the meat cleaver to her? Does he
yeah,
chop
yeah.
her head, Or is this
Right. Yeah,
yeah,
that's what
okay.
he does. Yeah. So what happens is, and this is like again from part four, like there's a lot of window stuff happening in
Yeah.
that one. But so the meat cleaver comes through the window, goes into her head, and then her head falls into
Soup.
the stew. And this is not like a regular pot of stew. This thing is like really big. She's making so much stew it would like feed like probably 60 people. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of wondered that, but not enough to care.
Yeah, I mean,
A big ass pot of stew that she's making. It's literally just for her, Junior, and maybe the Drifter, but she doesn't mention the Drifter again after the initial scene with the Drifter. So,
yeah, but I mean, maybe the thing is she's always cooking, but obviously if you're in if you're living the way that they're living, maybe they would make a big thing of stew and then figure out a way to keep it for a long time.
yeah.
But she wouldn't always be cooking though, because she would have stew from when she cooked it before. But I don't
Nobody said this
know.
movie had to be logical. It just has to function.
Yeah, I mean, but the idea was for her to go face first into the stew,
Yeah.
which it should have been boiling, but it was probably like a safety thing. Because if you think about for not really like if for this gag to work really good, cleaver to the head falls into the stew, her face melts off. It's kind of like in what is it, sleepaway camps or whatever. But that was probably kind of maybe the idea, but then they may have pulled back on it. Like we don't have the time to boil her face off, so it's good enough her face just goes into the stew.
Well, yeah, because they have to get back to the to Pinehurst. Because now
Yeah,
we're getting to where all the stories are converging towards the end here.
right. And I made a note here. They're watching a movie on the screen, which is a movie I've never seen. What now?
You know what movie?
I wrote it down. Yes, A Place in the Sun is the movie. It's got Montgomery Clift in it.
Hmm.
But I did it's not a horror movie. It's like but there's a scene apparently in the movie where the guy brings the girl out on this boat, and that's the scene you're seeing. It's kind of a creepy looking scene. And I think one of the characters dies during that scene, but it is more of a drama movie. But the way it makes it look like it's a horror movie, and they're acting like it is when they're watching it, because the Pam, well, not Pam, the what's her Robin character is
Jake
watching it, and
Robinson.
yeah, and she's getting scared, and then the Jake starts saying that he has feelings for her and all that, and he wants to, and then she rejects him, and he storms away.
Yeah, but it's funny because she rejects him as though she's so naive, she doesn't really know the real implications of everything, which is why she goes to her room and apologizes to herself in the mirror when she says this. Uh, and I never noticed that before. I actually never noticed that before, probably because I just wasn't paying any freaking attention. Um, because this is about the only time in the entire film where you see any characters say any type of feelings towards anyone else. You don't get any of this type of emotional thing in
Yeah,
any other character in this film, but it's these two characters.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's kind of cool actually, because the thing about all three of these characters, they kind of get short-handed on their screen
yes,
time. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that they had to kill somebody every 7 minutes. So they had to focus on these random people who were getting killed. But what they do have with these characters in a short period of time, even the other girl, Violent, what you get in a short period of time, you do get some pretty better stuff than the rest of the character development for the goofballs that they kill.
yeah.
But yeah, and just the fact that like she starts to realize what she did, and she's like, I'm always doing stupid stuff, and then he gets killed. He goes to see Violent is. She goes to see the other girl,
Bobby.
Violent, or they call her no. Violet's the one who's
Oh
listening
no,
to
he goes
music.
to go see Vic or Violet.
Yeah,
Yeah,
They call her Vi sometimes. Like the Joey guy calls her Vi, but
fine.
when she's listening to like music and doing this weird ass robot dance thing.
Yes, I was
It,
like,
it,
I forgot she does this weird robot dance. Uh, and the
it's pretty
way
cool
that
though.
yeah, well, the way she stalked in this film in that sequence by
Yeah.
Roy Jason reminds me of the Rocker and Jason Takes Manhattan sequence.
Okay,
The
yeah.
way Jason stalks that Rocker in that movie as well. But the dance that Vi does here is so fucking weird that it kind
Yeah.
of stays with you. I'm wondering if that was like a popular thing in the mid '80s. God, I
Well,
have
she
no
you know, she was talking about it. The actress is talking about it on that documentary on the Scream Factory disc. It was a combination of two things, and one of it was the robot, and then the other one was something else. I can't remember what she was saying, but it was a mixture of two different things like that.
Well, it looks like it's a mixture of something.
Yeah, no, it was like what a mime does, like miming
Yeah.
and the robot dance, but it was weird. But Jake gets killed before her. He goes to see her, and then she's in there doing that. And he doesn't really talk to her, and that's when the meat cleaver returns, and he gets killed with a meat cleaver, which is now you got three characters in a row killed with a cleaver. But I guess it does. I mean, it's just fine. It is what it is. But then and then after that, then the dance thing, and well, actually, the other girl gets killed first, right?
Oh yeah.
No,
Wow.
that's no. She like Robin goes and wait. Reggie's in the house. He's on the couch, and she
Yeah,
tries to wake
Robin's
him.
still
Yeah,
watching TV.
yeah,
Robin's
yeah,
still watching TV. So Vi
yeah.
gets killed first because that's where after what's his,
No. Robin does get killed first. I was looking at my notes. She does get killed first, but it's kind of a cool thing. And again, there's some part of this that doesn't make sense. Like we were talking about earlier, she takes off all her clothes, which I'm fine with. That's completely realistic to me. But like she gets in the bed, and then the dude's in the bed with her, like already dead. It's a pretty cool makeup on him. Jake's in the bed, but the only thing that doesn't make sense about it is how like a top bunk is not really that big, and how you going to fit two people in the top bunk, and then yeah. But then, but that's cool though. It's cool that he's in the bed and she doesn't know it at first, and she gets in there, and then he is there, and then fake Jason's under the bunk bed and stabs her through the bunk bed with a machete.
mm-hmm.
Now, yeah, and then Violet's doing the dance, and he kills her with with the uh with the machete too. He grabs her neck, slams her against the wall. We've kind of seen this before in the other movies. But he slams her against the wall and stabs her with a machete.
Yeah. And then of
There we
course
go.
that leaves there only to be Reggie, who
Yeah.
we don't see in the any type of establishing shot that he's on the couch in the living room while they're watching the movie. Uh
No. But
yeah,
we do see it after that though. After she goes to see him before she gets killed. Yeah, but while they're watching the movie before and they're having their couples talk that doesn't work out, you don't know that he's in the room.
don't have any clue. Yeah, I always thought I found that interesting. I don't think I noticed it until this recent watch that's how this whole scene plays out.
Yeah.
Reggie's done passed out watching this movie with these teenagers.
Reggie said something funny that when he wakes up. I wrote this dialogue down. He's like, "What are them nuts up to now?" Like that's what he wakes up and he thinks.
I want to mention this because normally, and I think I can't remember what other film we've talked about where we mentioned this. Normally, the final girl would be the person who would like come across all the dead bodies. Like every
Yeah,
film has to have that whole sequence. Oh, I think it was the previous Friday 13th where
yeah.
we think that one character is the final girl because she comes across all the bodies, but then she gets killed herself. In this one, Reggie goes upstairs looking for Tommy. Another red herring thing is by having the whole Tommy character, you go in his room, and that's where all the bodies have been stashed, are in the
Right.
bodies. It terrifies Reggie. Um,
And here, like once again, and it was new in part four, but in this one we have an adult character and a younger kid character as the final two instead of like a lot of times before that it would just be one person. But something really weird happens here. Made a note. So he runs out into the hall, and there Pam is in the hallway, and her acting or something. I don't know what happened here, but
yeah,
here's what she does. She's like, "What is it, Reggie? It's Pam." This almost sounds like she says, "It's Pam." It almost sounds like something out of like the guy did The Room. It's like some of his dialogue. She's like, "What is it, Reggie? It's Pam. What's the matter? It's me. What is it?" and then forcefully, what is it? You know, and that's how it goes. It all like goes like that. It's not like any like wait for him to talk, let him. It shouldn't even give him a chance to answer. It's just like a continuous, what is it? You know. And then,
Of course, when she goes into the room, she waits a few moments before the lightning strikes so she can see the bodies. I
yeah,
found it
yeah,
hilarious. I didn't notice that until I rewatched it. I was like, she walks in the room and she doesn't react, and then we see the lightning strike, and then she sees the bodies, and then she screams
yeah.
and she comes out. Uh, which I still
Right,
find
right.
hilarious. um,
Yeah, no, it's no that I don't know why. I almost feel like to me when they were shooting that scene, it was probably like 4 a.m. in the morning, and the actress was just spun, and then they made her do the scene anyway, and it was just like that's what they got, you know. I really because you don't see her acting like that otherwise, except for in that sequence, and I almost feel like that's probably what happened there. But it's like the way she delivers those lines, it's like holy shit, what happened?
oh yeah, yeah.
But
Um,
then that becomes like a that becomes they go to the back door. The imposter Jason comes through, which I wasn't sure what door it was, but when they go out the front door later, we identified it as the back door. And then at that point, this is like an hour and 10 minutes into it. That's the first time we see a close up of the hockey mask with the blue triangles under the eyes.
yeah,
And then it started. I think it started raining before this, but there is some cool rain going on outside for this like last sequence. And then Reggie and they run out the front door and they go out in the rain. And then that's when they go out in the woods and they find the ambulance. And inside of it, there's the other paramedic
yep.
who's he was killed off screen. And then he's there. Jason, the fake Jason,
Disappear.
shows up. Yeah, well, he shows up there at the ambulance too
Yeah,
and tries to kill him. And then they find in the woods when they run again, they find Matt, the head counselor, dead with a railroad spike through his head, which is kind of gruesome looking.
yeah, but
Kind of,
at this
yeah,
point, she's lost Reggie because Reggie bolts.
yeah, oh, yeah,
Reggie bolts.
yeah, yeah,
And I always found that so fucking hilarious.
yeah,
That he just bolt. He's like, dude, nope, ain't dealing with it. I'm running my ass, and he does that. And then she
yeah,
comes across Matt. Uh,
yeah. Which is hilarious. It is, I mean, it's not only hilarious, but it's also like that is how what you do in a situation like this. You get the fuck out. Yeah, yeah. It was
um,
actually funny in that movie, Behind the Mask, when they're
yeah,
talking about he's like, here's what you do. Like, the serial killers are talking about it with each other, and he's like, you just run, just keep going through the woods, and you just keep running, you know, until the next day. You don't stop. That's how you get away from the killers, you know.
yeah. Don't stop, Jesus. Uh,
Yeah,
what like she does, but she goes back to the main house. Uh,
yeah,
and then of course, while she's in the main house looking for Reggie, that's when Reggie's grandfather George gets thrown through the window.
yeah.
But
And his eyes are cut out. It's kind of a bummer that he died. But I guess they got to kill everybody pretty much that they can in these things. But he and it is very similar when he comes through the window. It's very similar to when the Rob character comes through the window in part four.
mm,
Very, very similar sequence. And then she runs back outside after that, and she
yep.
falls in a mud puddle. Then the killer stands over her and is about to kill her with the machete. And that's when Reggie comes out of the big barn with a tractor. And now this tractor was established earlier. Vic was driving it the first time you see Vic when they arrive at the Pinehurst place. But other than that, we don't know about the barn or the tractor. We did see Vic driving it though. But this is so he hits the character, the guy who's acting like he's Jason with this backhoe um, plow thing. It messes him up pretty good because he hits him right in the middle of his waist.
Yeah, and we see him bleeding. We see him
Yeah,
bleeding. We see, yeah, and he takes notice of that.
yeah, because when he stands back up later, it's like he looks down and for a moment there, he kind of is like, "Wait a minute," but then he clicks back into psycho mode. But that is he gets hurt pretty bad when he gets hit with that
Yeah,
lift thing.
he's not Jason.
Yeah, but he thinks that he is though. And then it kind of becomes like there's a lot going, there's a lot of back and forth. Kind of it's kind of a cool sequence, like they always do. And eventually, at one point, she picks up a chainsaw, and there's like a chainsaw fight between her and the Jason guy until the chainsaw runs out of gas or stops working. It's kind
Yeah,
of
it's
funny.
cop out. I kind of like the
Yeah,
Chainsaw Mask dude for a while.
yeah, yeah. But that's when the chainsaw stops working. She throws the chainsaw at Jason. That's when Tommy enters the barn, and at the right time he enters, and you're like, okay, well, I guess the killer's not Tommy after all.
Yeah. That's yeah. So I guess it's what 20-30 minutes. They've kept Tommy out of the story so that
Yeah,
audiences could believe that it's possibly Tommy behind the mask doing all this.
right.
Um and then
Which kind of messed up his screen time a lot, having him off screen for so long.
mhm.
But he's and he doesn't say that much through most of the movie. I think he's got 20, he says 24 words throughout the whole film, but he's on screen a pretty good bit until he disappears for a while. But
Hmm.
then at this point, like Reggie's been hiding up in the loft of the barn, and Pamela goes up there with him, and that's when he thinks about to be a showdown between him and Jason, but he freezes, and then Jason just slashes him across his chest, and then he's able to get away and climb up in the loft with everybody else, and then
And pass out.
yeah, and pass out.
Oh, so we have to mention this before about Tommy.
Yeah,
Tommy, as soon as he shows up in this sequence, he thinks that that's the real Jason, and it causes him to freeze, like he can't react to
right.
like he's been seeing Jason throughout the whole movie, and he can't react because he actually thinks this is real Jason, and Roy Jason is able to wound him.
Yeah,
Um, without Tommy being able to defend himself, really. He just kind of falls to the ground once he gets cut and wounded by Roy Jason. But then Roy Jason goes back up to go after Pam and them in the barn loft. Uh, and it's interesting because up until this point, the audience has been playing with this Tommy character being mentally unstable and being possibly the killer, and we are seeing both Roy Jason being very, very vulnerable by getting hit by the tractor, and even Tommy being vulnerable by getting wounded by Roy Jason. Um,
yeah, you're right. And it's
which I really liked.
yeah, no, that's it's a really good sequence, really, the
Yeah,
whole barn sequence,
it
and there's a
is.
lot. And then Pam really, it kind of becomes up to Pam and Reggie to eventually take him out. Even though Tommy survives the attack, he doesn't. He does do the final blow, but most of the fighting is Pam and Reggie
Yeah.
until
Well,
they get. Yeah,
a good part of that little sequence up in the barn loft, Tommy's unconscious. He manages to
yeah.
get up there despite his wounds, but then he passes out. Uh,
Right. Yeah, yeah, but they eventually do, like Reggie and Pam eventually overpower Jason, and then Tommy wakes back up just in time to push him out of the loft onto the tiller, and that's when the mask comes out and you see it's a human, and it doesn't look anything like the Roy character, but it's later established in some dialogue that that's what it was,
yeah,
yeah. But
that's why
it's
I always had, I always kept thinking it was Jason at some point because I just never paid attention to that big reveal at the very end, that dump of exposition and
yeah,
motivations for the Roy character. Um,
yeah,
I guarantee I just wasn't paying attention when I was a really young kid. I wasn't paying
yeah.
attention.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I think that even though it was cool that he pushed him out of the loft onto the tiller, the tractor, um, tiller spikes or whatever, it would have been better to give that to unmask the character and
Yeah,
have the actor. It's just it would have been better had the actor been able to do something than even tell a story. Maybe he gets more mortally wounded, but then the mask comes off, and then he's able to accept that he's not Jason anymore because he lost the mask, and then as he's dying, maybe say something. Maybe take a little bit of it, not like a big not a big dump of explanation, but just something, you know.
Hmm.
I mean,
Anyway,
I think it would have been it would have been a little bit better received than the police, which there's a very similar scene to the end of the first Friday the 13th with the cops talking to her inside of the um
the
yeah, they're she's in the
hospital room.
hospital, yeah, and then they kind of do the exposition dump to her, tell her what happened. It is very unsatisfying exposition dump. it's
It's
it,
one of the few times in these films that they do that because we all know who Jason is. We all know that he's just a force of nature, going to kill everything. This one, they had to give the explanation because visually, I don't think it's all there. I
yeah,
I would
I agree. They had to do it for sure.
I always I kind of wonder if they were having issues with like what do you call it, a preview screening of this, and they went back and added that stuff to fix the issues with,
Yeah.
because that's what it feels like. It feels like it's an explanation dump. That we have to explain all this stuff because people
Yeah.
just weren't putting their brains on to watch this. And like, nah, I wasn't putting my brain on to watch this. You gotta explain this shit to me.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it was needed. I don't think that when I say it, obviously it's not well executed, but I don't
Yes.
think it's a very satisfying explanation on top of that. It's done badly and the explanation's not very satisfying.
Hmm. No, I can see that. No, I definitely see that.
But but other than that, I think it's kind of the movie's kind of fun. But there is that. It's always been a big groaner. I think for most people watching it that when that's happens, and then after that we get the really annoying stuff to me anyway, because eventually um, Pam goes into the hospital room where Tommy is, and he's not in there, and then he appears behind her wearing the blue Jason mask and about the killer, we assume, and that's the climatic or the cliffhanger of it. It's always kind of made me mad.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's because it's not Jason. The other guy turned into Jason, and and then plus I like Tommy as the hero, and I don't like him turning into Jason. So
No, I mean, I have the same issues with that. Like I said, part four, part six were always my favorites of the entire franchise, and this one always seemed like the middle stepchild. That
yeah,
yeah, I mean, it never seemed like a cohesive film, or it works with the other two on the outsides of it, because it was so different, and the Tommy character is so different.
yeah,
I still think that it's a commendable like detour to have, or to try and have Tommy be this evil character who manifests as Jason Voorhees, because we do see that last time he sees Jason in the hospital, Jason, the imaginary version, disappears slowly as if he's now becoming Jason.
yeah. Yeah, I think they did accomplish what they wanted to,
Yeah.
turning them into Jason. I'm glad they didn't stick to that landing though.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it could have worked maybe going forward, but I'm really glad they actually brought Jason Voorhees back in the next film, instead of doing what they originally were planning to do.
Well, he's an undying entity now. He can't die.
Yeah,
I actually no, don't get me wrong. I may have had issues with the ending to this, with the whole Tommy Jarvis being a serial killer, how they're trying to make that, shoehorn that into the reasons behind everything. But I think it worked much better in part six, the way they crafted it, where Tommy is someone who ends up escaping the hospital with his friends to go make sure Jason is killed
yeah,
permanently. Uh, I love the concept of the sixth one. This one, I think time for me has been more kind to it. I mean, like I said, I saw the work print version of it 6 years ago, I think, and then we rewatched this one, and I saw a lot of stuff in this one for the rewatch for the program that I hadn't seen before. So some of this has made this a much better film experience, film watching experience for me than back in the day when I used to dismiss it.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. I actually enjoyed watching it more this time
Yeah.
than before. It's been a long time,
Oh
and I
yeah.
do like the way that it looks. I mean, I think that I do like the location and
Hmm.
the way that it looks generally. I think it's some of it's pretty fun. The ending's always I even remember thinking it was fun watching it when I was younger, and always just been it's always been the ending that's really been a sore part of the film. But even that, knowing that it's coming helps, I guess. But if it's
This is just an odd film. I don't, other than like a modern day horror slashers like Scream and the Saw films. It's very rare where these franchises would change up who the actual killer is in like the fifth film. Like you know,
yeah. I
uh,
mean, and that's a good comparison when you bring up Scream like that. I think that Scream does this very well.
yeah,
It,
Scream does this
yeah,
really well. Saw, I think, because they relied on fucking cops, it was not as interesting when Saw does it. But Scream has like done it like great.
and it's like, and this is kind of that earlier version of that same concept, like the copycat killer that he basically becomes Jason. I mean, he's almost in some ways it almost possessed by Jason during the course of the film. It's not really possessed by him in a physical way, just possessed by the idea of Jason. He
Yeah,
couldn't accept that his son was killed the way that he was, and he instead of like trying to deal with the tragedy, he couldn't accept it, and he became the serial killer instead.
yeah. I mean, it's a really cool concept. I'm not necessarily always convinced the execution was always on par, but it's a really cool concept. I'm surprised someone else hasn't bothered that before. A killer who uses the tragedy of his own life and kind of has a scapegoat in like a known serial killer type of thing. I mean, it works for this one because this movie had fucking four other Jason Voorhees movies before it.
Yeah.
But to be a standalone film without that kind of that history and that mythology that Jason has, I don't know if the concept would work as well. Like,
The first film in the franchise was his mom killing. This is the only other one that's not Jason doing the killing.
yeah,
So, but
yeah, that's a good point to make. It's a good point to make.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
Yep, I guess Jason only was in three movies, and then the faux Jason, and then Jason again.
yeah. They went back to Jason after this, and it was just I think from I really think that in general they didn't embrace Jason fully until after this one. From six on, with the exception of Jason Goes to Hell, I think, but six on, they really embraced the character at that point. They knew that he was the franchise, and they needed really to focus on Jason
Yeah,
specifically.
yeah, and they brought really talented people to come up with a creative way to bring him back too.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Yeah, but then very the only when Jason Goes to Hell, he's like in it some, but he becomes like a kind of a body snatcher, body switcher movie, but switches body, so he's off screen a lot of times. But uh,
Yeah, but I love the makeup for Jason in that movie with the big
yeah, yeah,
ass head, with the small mask that's been
oh yeah,
damaged over the course of films that's just kind of
yeah,
dug into the face. I kind of like the
yeah.
look of
No,
Jason.
no, I agree. I think it looks great. I
Yeah,
wish he's in it more, like the actually
yeah,
Jason. But it's still that movie's. I have a soft spot for it because that is the first one I saw at the theater, and at the time it didn't bother me as much. It still doesn't bother me that much. I still like the film, but I could accept that it's done somewhat poorly, but I still enjoy it.
yeah. I'll always enjoy that movie because that's Stephen Williams in it.
Oh
So,
yeah, yeah.
I always enjoy that film.
Was it
That was
Creighton Duke is his character's name, I
yeah.
think. Great character. I wish they brought that character back again. It would have been awesome. He actually gets killed though, doesn't he? in the movie? I
Yeah,
think
he
he
gets
just gets
killed.
his back broke. He just get killed. Yeah,
Yeah,
they
but
screwed up
the
killing
one
him.
character who's like the protagonist character then goes on to the television show, which I always thought was funny. Or he's from the
Yeah,
television show.
yeah,
Television
yeah.
came first, and he went in that movie.
Right,
I,
John De La May or something like that. I think
yeah, I always found it hilarious when I saw that movie. And
yeah,
with Friday the 13th, I had not seen the show until maybe the entire show. Like I'd
yeah,
seen some of it when it aired, but I hadn't seen the entire show until maybe 6 years ago, 6 or 7 years ago.
yeah.
I watched it straight through.
He
That's
was yeah. I watched the show. When I saw the movie Jason Goes to Hell, I knew that he was from the show when I saw it. I was like, that's pretty cool. They got him on there playing a different character.
Yeah, that's kind
Yeah,
of cool. So,
yeah.
so we're at that time. Have we missed anything with this film?
I don't think so. I don't have any other notes than that I see. So yeah.
Because we did some extensive talking about the non-Jason Friday 13th film.
Yeah, yeah.
But I will say I do like the fact that for this Friday 13th we're able to talk about the final chapter, which was the one of the best Friday sequels, and then this one which went in a different direction and talking about how different it did go. I think that was a good way to kind of celebrate this Friday the 13th by going through these two films. Now, of course,
Yeah.
next Friday the 13th we get into the one that's audience pleaser on so many levels. So I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah.
But Dave, I want to thank you for talking with me on this Friday 13th about these Friday 13th films, part 4 and 5, especially on this episode in which we talked about A New Beginning. For everyone listening, what we love to do at this point is to rate the film between 1 and 5, but we do something a little different. We like to take a quote, saying, or anything from the film to attribute to our rating. 1 is poor, 5 is amazing. Where on the spectrum, Dave, do you place this film, Friday the 13th, A New Beginning?
Well, I'm going to pick the blue triangled hockey mask.
Mm.
And I'm going to be more generous with this one than I probably should be. But I'm going to give it 3 blue triangled hockey masks.
Okay.
And that's yeah, it's because I do think it's entertaining. I do think they do mostly what they needed to do. I don't like the twist. I don't like some of the goofball supporting characters, but I think overall though I do like some of the dark comedy, but I do think some of it's a little out of yeah, it's a little much, and it doesn't quite feel right. But overall, I think the movie's entertaining enough, though.
Okay. I'm giving it a 3 too, but I'm going to give it 3 impalements in an outhouse. So with that, I want to thank you all for listening to us talk about Friday 13th, A New Beginning on this Friday the 13th. Hopefully you have enjoyed us talking about this film, and you've caught the episode in which we talked about part 4, the final chapter. Please make sure to like, follow, share, subscribe, do that thing you do with your favorite podcast, your favorite podcast app, Spotify, or YouTube. We have put out a lot of amazing episodes, so please make sure to check out our catalog of episodes to check out other great conversations. Also, make sure to check out our other podcast, Conversations in Hammer Studio Horrors, which delves deep into the amazing world of Hammer Studio films from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. With that, I do want you also to make sure to check out our special Valentine's Day episodes, which are coming out tomorrow. We've never released episodes on a Saturday, but we are going to do that this year with the amazing episodes highlighting the film Valentine and Heart Eyes from 2025. So with that, have a great day, and we will see you on the next amazing episode. Conversations in Horror is a Broken Lighthouse Pictures production, written, produced, and directed by Kevin L. Powers, executive producer Kelly A. Inoka. All contents and material from this episode of Conversations in Horror is copyright 2025 Broken Lighthouse Pictures.